What's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and today we are taking a look at the St. Louis Blues pending unrestricted free agent goaltender Ville Husso. He's expected to hit the market this summer. It's been a really miraculous season for Ville Husso. He had one of the worst seasons that a goalie could have last year and bounced back in his big contract year. So now the question is, well, where does he sign? What's the interest in Ville Husso? What does his contract look like? And, what is Ville Husso? Because if you look at what Ville Husso was for the last 2 years, you would argue he's maybe not that good of a goalie. And then you stack up to what his numbers were this season. Well, he started in the playoffs this year under Craig Berube's Blues and overtook Binnington in the first round of the playoffs. So there is reason to believe Husso is a very good goalie. He has the potential there, but again, is this just a one-time, one-hit wonder, signs a big contract, and it never materializes, or is he legit? And that's, again, I don't want to be negative, but we do have to look at just the reality of the situation. So the St. Louis Blues won't be able to bring everyone back this offseason, as management has some tough decisions to make. The players not expected to come back next year are defenseman Nick Leddy and goaltender Ville Husso. So if you guys remember, I immediately am thinking back a couple of years ago, going back a few seasons, and the Blues are one of those teams that they've got a goalie, but they're good, but it's more about their defensive structure and the players around them. I think their goalies get a little bit insulated. And I hate to say it, a perfect example of that was a couple seasons ago. I'm sure you guys will remember when I put it together. St. Louis Blues had a backup goaltender, Carter Hutton. He played really well that season, and he was one of the really, he was a really good guy that they lost. The only problem was with Carter Hutton was he had his one good season, but he kind of struggled for a while. And the problem is, in his contract year, he did extremely well in St. Louis. He goes out on the open market, signs with Buffalo on a big ticket contract. I think it was like 5 years, $5 million, right? 5-year, $25 million contract. He signed for a lot of money. And he never really was that good in Buffalo. And I think that, again, you're comparing apples to oranges here because Ville Husso is much younger than Carter Hutton was at the time of the signing, and who knows where he ends up. If he ends up in Vegas or a city like, with a pretty good team and they just need the goalie, then Ville Husso might be really good. But again, it depends on the situation, and if Ville Husso is the Husso we saw this season for the next 5 years, I think any team would take him at $5 million. But if we've seen the Husso that we saw last year, in 2 seasons ago and 3 seasons ago, there'd be a lot more question if he's even a third goalie, a fringe backup goalie at the National Hockey League level. So it's going to be interesting to see where his number sits. I'm looking at somewhere between 3 and 3.5 per year for Ville Husso on the market. He's definitely not going to get a max contract. You're probably looking at somewhere between a 3 to 5 year deal. Again, I think some of that comes down to the team that he signs with. If it ends up being the Vegas Golden Knights, he might have to drive up, he might be getting less AAV. He might take $3 million to go to Vegas, but he's going to be there for a 5-year contract. In the other sense, right, let's say there's a team that is sold on only having him for 3 seasons. They might be willing to pay him $3.75 million per year. But the catch is it's only a 3-year deal. So it depends on how this kind of works out, what teams are interested in him, because that is going to tell you a lot of the story here. And could they, it comes down to what does Carter Hutton want? Does he want the stability of knowing that he's with an organization for 5 years, right? Or at least he's going to get paid for 5 years. Maybe no trade clauses attached, right? But he's going to have some say, with a $5 million contract, he's going to have a little bit of stability there. Or does he want the quick money, a 3-year deal, and he could try and cash out again in another 3 or 4 years, right? which is unlikely, but again, that's kind of what we're going with here. So I think it's going to be interesting how things play out with Ville Husso. I think he's a good goalie. I think plenty of teams will be interested in him. You guys have already probably seen the template or about to see the template. With the teams I think he could go to, I think the Flyers are in the mix for a new goalie. I think the Devils are definitely in the mix. The Buffalo Sabres are definitely in the mix. So I think plenty of teams will be looking at him. And again, it depends on if somebody gives him, starter money in terms of a starting goaltender, or do teams see him as more of maybe not a backup, but a 1B behind somebody, right? I look at an example like Minnesota, right? Behind Cam Talbot, Marc-Andre Fleury leaves. Who's behind them, right? They traded Kaapo Kähkönen at the deadline. Who's behind Cam Talbot? And unless Jesper Wallstedt is ready to be a backup next year, you need somebody there. Maybe that ends up being Ville Husso. So it depends on the situation, depends on the philosophy of the team where they want to invest their money into. But I do think Ville Husso will have plenty of suitors. But the question is, where does he end up signing? Let me know what you guys think down below. Where do you think Ville Husso signs this summer? I do think he has, overpriced himself. Priced himself out of returning to St. Louis. So the question is, where does he go on the open market? Congratulations, though, to Ville Husso on an incredible comeback season, and hopefully he's able to build off of that based off whatever contract he gets this summer. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.